welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And first and foremost, I just want to thank all of you that are here today because as many of you know, because we talk about it in one of the next slides, I'm a one-on-one coach. And man, oh man, in my coaching day today, I'm hearing about all kinds of weather across the country, and it's not good weather. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to give you guys all claps, a round of applause, all of that kind of stuff for being here. And I'm going to ask you a couple things. Remember, if you are here and you are not me, you should be muted. You should be muted right now because otherwise we've got some noise in the background. We want to be able to hear the lesson for today, all the fun interaction, and we can't do that if we're hearing your background noise. So do me a favor, again, if you're not me, go ahead and mute yourself. Now, today, unlike probably more than any other of these that we've had so far this session, we are actually going to be looking for more interaction. And we'll talk about how to do that interaction again in a few moments. And it is 2:01. Thanks for being here. I love the people that are showing up right from Bold. Oh my gosh, so you are having a day of it. So let's go ahead and rock and roll. Welcome to the final and most exciting session of the MAPS Language of Sales program. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad that you've been a part of this class. You know, from our very first day together, which seems like more than 8 sessions ago, probably because we've had some breaks in there, some holidays, things like that. You know, we've got a new look, we've got new concepts, we had some new examples. We've got new students, almost 400 of you here that registered for the class, and new ways to communicate and influence that are appropriate to the way we communicate in today's world. And over the last 7 weeks, man, oh man, we have worked together on the art of sharing words and ideas in a scientific and structured way that allow you to increase your influence as a speaker, while simultaneously supporting the listener in achieving his or her goals. Now, we're going to have some special guests with us today. And before we introduce our special guests, I just want to review again, for those who don't know who I am, my name is Kara Mull. I'm a MAPS head coach. I'm a transformational coach to both agents and leadership in our ecosystem. I'm an IPEX certified energy leader coach and emotional intelligence coach, a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming, or NLP. I have I'd like to say I'm a top agent in Chicago. I'm not anymore. I'm an agent in Chicago that has an amazing top team that I don't have to do anything with. And I also invest in KW1 Chicago, the flagship market center here in the servicing the city and Chicago suburbs. And I am so glad you're here. So for one last time, go ahead, use that chat box, let everybody know where you're from. Because again, we're recording this. They're going to see, they're going to know where you're from. And when you have referrals for someone, go to our Facebook page. Why? Because these people are the same people that have been with you on your 8-session journey. They're the people that have also been working on their language skills. And if you're going to refer someone to a good agent somewhere else, you do want someone who has amazing language skills just like you, don't you? Automatically, you know they'll take great care of that person. So thank you all. I love sunny San Diego. Angela, you have to rub it in, right? Sunny San Diego, not just regular old San Diego, sunny San Diego. New Jersey, Central Florida, Pittsburgh, snowy day in Cleveland, Chattanooga, frozen Bentonville, Arkansas. Wow. There's, I mean, everywhere. It seems like the southern part of the country is getting hit with that weather. And again, you're making time to be here today. So kudos to you. Now, I'm excited for the MAPS Language of Sales. You know this because it incorporates the greatest communication tools known with the lessons and experience of powerful leaders. You know, we've talked about different leaders throughout this course, and top agents who know how to move people into action. It really does tap into the art and science to systematically teach you as the participant a brand new language. And automatically, without even thinking, you are realizing how fun it is to have clients sign the contract, reduce the price, accept the offer, and of course, work with you. You understand that the more you commit and practice, the more you internalize the tools you've learned, and the more you're helping people. And after weeks and weeks of working together, you know that being a powerful communicator, it's not genetic. You know that when you work with MAPS, your bank account grows. You unconsciously start to accept that when you are focused and participate fully in these sessions, well, you listen to them multiple times. You do your growth commitment. You actually internalize the things that we've been talking about in language of sales, and that comes from practicing. Remember, not just writing, talking as well. That it causes these language patterns to appear as if magic when you need them. And it's because you've conditioned yourself to know when to use them. It's like that quote we mentioned several sessions ago from the great author Susan Scott. She wrote the book Fierce Conversations. If you haven't read that book, read that book. You'll learn gradually, then suddenly. One day you'll be at a listing appointment, and all of a sudden there'll be an amazing future pace that comes out of your mouth. There'll be embedded commands that flow with the downswing, just the way you've been practicing them. So I'm thrilled that you're here today. And throughout this conversation, I'm going to ask certain guests to come on. And the very first guest I'm asking to come on today is the one, the only Steve Schlueter. Steve, go ahead and unmute yourself. Now, the reason Steve is here today is because one of my commitments to you all is that after your actual session journey ends, and we'll discuss, you have these for 60 more days, about 8 more weeks, that you come up with what's your next journey and how to use the language. And Steve is one of the amazing coaches, along with Tammy Youngst, that coaches the one and only Never Ending Referrals. Steve, can you take a couple minutes and just let everybody know how does joining Never Ending Referrals piggyback on what they've been learning here, and how is it a great next extension for them?
Absolutely love to do that. Now, by the way, I got to say, though, there is one thing missing from your screen share here, and that is you were a bowl coach for quite a while.
I was.
Once a bowl coach, never not a bowl coach. So I'm going to give you the purple bracelet treatment here today. And if you wouldn't mind sending me full screen for just a minute, I don't know if that's possible, if we could make that happen.
Sheila, will you make that happen for Steve, please?
On the slide, and yeah, because it's, and of course, as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm hearing the embedded commands and the tie downs and the language patterns. I'm going, yes, and you guys are getting so well equipped to take these tools and use them in a way that now we would say very targeted to this thing called relationships. Our database. And I'm going to share something with you guys. Looks like we've got it right there. And have y'all seen this? Have y'all talked about this in here, Kara?
We have not. So go ahead. Give him a quick little lesson.
So this is a little thing called the trust triangle. And draw this out and put it in your notes. And it comes from the Harvard Business Review. And I was first introduced to this by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan having a conversation around leadership. And the conversation went this way. So for somebody to have trusted relationships with the people that follow them, there's 3 components. There's the logic component, there's empathy, and there's the authentic you. And the logic part is they know that your judgment and your reasoning is sound. In other words, they know that you get whatever it is that you're leading them around. Well, when I heard this, I said, well, this is exactly how people build trust with a database. Logic. They want to know that your reasoning and your judgment is sound, that you know real estate. Empathy. They want to know that you care about them and their success. And this was what Harvard Business Review said was critical in leadership. It's exactly the same thing in the relationships we build with our database. And then the key part, authentic you, doing it all in a way that, doesn't sound salesy. It doesn't sound scripted. It's a human conversation. And yet the way you guys are being equipped with these powerful language patterns, what you're able to do to really deliver this experience. And so I looked at this and I said, this is exactly how you succeed with a database, with relationship selling. And Never Ending Referrals, what the journey that we take you on is, what are the tactics and strategies so you develop that logic side where they know that you have all the right stuff when it comes to real estate. You're not Steve, the realtor. You become Steve, their realtor. And by the way, Kara, that's a big difference, right?
Oh, huge difference.
Big difference. And the empathy, what are the conversations? You just referred to Susan Scott. And Susan Scott tells us the conversation is the relationship. And what are the conversations that are going to build that empathy such that they would never do business with anybody but you? Forget the Open Doors of the world and, the friend in real estate. It's not going to matter because they know that you really care about them and their success. And you do it all in a way that feels like, man, that's just a real human being. And I really feel like a connection there. So what Never Ending Referrals is, guys, it's a system that takes you through exactly how do I deliver that experience. What is the positioning and marketing strategies that are going to create the logic that you are the professional, you're the expert? What are the conversations that are going to create and deepen relationships to that level of creating advocacy? And, and it's interesting. I don't know if anybody on here uses USAA for your financial services. And if you do, I'd be interesting if you have this experience with USAA, put it in the chat. My significant other, Shelley, was on the phone with her financial advisor just a few days ago at USAA. And I walked in the middle of the conversation and it sounded like two friends talking. And yet he was leading her through, a conversation about some new products and what was going on with her portfolio or investments. And I didn't hear the whole conversation. I was responding to a text. And after I got off, I wasn't sure who she was having a conversation with, but it sounded like a trusted friend. And she goes, well, that was my USAA guy. And as I listened to that, now, by the way, she said that was my USAA guy. She didn't say it was a representative at USAA. And if you ever use USAA, people have that experience all the time. This is a learned skill, and you've been learning these communication skills. And what Never Ending Referrals does, Kara, is we take you right into the application of using this directly to your database. Here's our stated goal in Never Ending Referrals. Get a 10% return on your database. So if you've got 200 in the database, Kara, my math's a little off, but I think 10% of 200 is still 20. Still 20?
It is.
There's new math out there.
Exactly.
And to grow it by 250 or more in the next 12 months. And to do this in a systematic fashion that's repeatable and simple. We kind of say we play checkers, not chess. And, what is that saying? Simple is the new sexy, I think they say. So, keeping it simple. And the enrollment in Never Ending Referrals, we're an ongoing program. It's extremely expensive. It's $39 a month to join our community. And we have 3 live sessions a month that feature an interview at the top of the hour. We're Mondays, first, second, and third Mondays of each month. We have an interview at the top of the hour at noon Central, followed by an hour lesson going through one of the 8 lessons of Never Ending Referrals. We also have an online portal that has over 130 videos for self-paced to take you right through the journey of Never Ending Referrals. So, Kara, the way they find out is come to neverendingreferrals.com. Check us out online. You can hit the join button if you'd like to get started with us. This coming Monday, we're featuring KT Temple as our interview with the latest tech updates to help you on that journey. And then we're getting into business to business and social media on Monday if you'd like to be part of that journey. And on a side note, I would be remiss if I didn't have you go to Amazon and get this great book called Rescue Dogs in Real Estate. It's a business fiction book. about building a relationship-based business and what that can do for your business and for your life. And so 5-star reviews all over the place. We'd love to have you be one of them. Kara, what else did I know I don't want to take a lot of your time. You're putting a bow tie on this today. And
we are.
Anything else I didn't mention that I should have?
No, Steve, you know what? You hit the nail on the head. And that is I want everybody to hear this loud and clear. Your language of sales journey only ends here if you allow it to. I've hand selected special guests today whose programs meld perfectly with everything that we've worked on here. The fact that you can join the Never Ending Referrals community for $39 a month and continue to use the skills and build on these things in a practical sense and network with other people who have done that. It's one of those things. Again, you said simple is the new sexy. I'm going to simple it. It's kind of a no-brainer. That's one of those things that you want to consider doing as we move forward. So Steve, thanks so much. We do have the link to Never Ending Referrals in the chat box. We're going to go ahead and put it in our Facebook group later on, our little Language of Sales Club Facebook group. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to myself via Facebook. I can put you in touch with Steve and Tammy, and they can help you. So Steve, thanks so much for being here today.
Hey,
we appreciate you.
Sure, guys. See you now.
Of course. So wonderful. So let's get back to the purpose of us being here today, other than how do you continue your journey, right? Because this isn't a set it and a forget it. This is a set it and learn it and practice it some more. And how do I keep using it? So in this session today, we're going to, well, let me put it this way. You realize that there's a lot more to great communication than most people know, right? I would think that is a flashlight that has been illuminated, that people who have great communication skills, they make it look easy, and yet it's easy because they practice it, right? So think about when you were an infant learning to speak. I've got a 2-year-old granddaughter right now and another little guy on the way, and I'm watching her develop her language skills, right? There was a time where she really didn't know any words, and then she knew a few more, and then a few more. And then, suddenly she's speaking in sentences and using bigger words. And why? It becomes automatic because she practices it. And I'm thrilled to have you here today as we wrap it all up. So prepare yourself mentally, physically, shake it all out, get physically ready to have this call reinforce what we've learned, and it's going to allow you to just achieve even more. You know how the Zoom works. We're going to use the chat box a little later today. We're going to ask you that if you'd like to speak to, use the hand raise feature, because it pops you up on my screen. I can only see very limited people. Pops you up on my screen, and we can call on you. And most importantly, I'm going to say this a couple times today. Everything is recorded. You will have access in the portal, as stated in previous sessions, for the next 60 days. So roughly April 1st. Now pay close attention. Don't be reaching out to me on April 10th and saying, Kara, where do I find the recordings? I can't find them anymore. I want to go back and no. April 10th is not April 1st. You have them from 60 days till today. Do yourself a favor, starting next week, retake the course. Go back and refocus on maybe just a few sessions and really master those sessions. So remember, it'll be available, mark it in your calendar, March 31st. Do I have everything I need from my Language of Sales course? So turn off your texts, use that little focus button, turn off your instant messenger if you're still using that, your other chat boxes, step away from any other distractions, and let's go over our growth work today. So we're going to review our growth work from last week. We're going to play the wrap-up game, which is very fun. There's 2 parts to the wrap-up game. And then, believe it or not, with this being the last session, we are going to have some more growth work moving forward. So as I begin to review the commitments you made last week, remember, this is a great opportunity for you to really take a good self-evaluation and say, did I play all in on this? Did I commit to this the way I should have? Or did I miss a huge opportunity in my world to help other people get what they want, excuse me, by working on my own skills. So I want to have a question for you, and I'm going to ask you to put your answer in the chat box. If you were a leader on a team, or maybe you are a leader on your team, and you paid to have one of your teammates take this class, and you were evaluating them based on the performance, the effort that you put in, with a 10 being, I was here every session, I participated, I did my growth work every day, and a 1 being, there's a class going on, where would you rank yourself? Where would you rank yourself? So go ahead and use the chat box. Want to hear where you want to see where you would rank yourself. A 5, a 6, a 3. You guys are an honest bunch. An 8, a 7, a 6.5, an 8, a 5, a 3. I mean, this is your opportunity. Again, you've got it for the next 8 weeks. Go back and review. Now, here's the great news. Whatever grade you gave yourself, there's still time. You can go back and redo it. I'm still going to be hanging out in the Facebook group. Remember the rule. If you want feedback on something, just tag me in the Facebook group. Email me, Kara@karamall.com. I'm happy to help you continue your journey or clarify anything as you go along. So speaking of your growth commitment, your first part of your growth commitment for the week was to write 5 direct cause and effect sentences. 5 sentences using that language pattern every day, Monday through Friday, using where X, remember, X creates something you mutually agree upon. Y is the future you want your listener to believe. And the bottom line is X causes Y. So take a moment and remember, as I'm reading these words, put your favorite cause and effect sentence that you wrote this week in the box. You know, because remember, when we're connecting X, what do we want them to mutually agree upon? And Y, the outcome we want the listener to believe, we're using those bridge words: causes, creates, allows, forces, makes, invokes. So write your favorite sentence in the box. Just you being here today stimulates your desire to learn even more language patterns, doesn't it? So we'll give you a minute to catch up. So Janet says, meeting before we look at homes results and are spending time on those homes that best fit your needs. Simple, brilliant, to the point sentence. X, meeting before we look at homes. The outcome, Y, spend time on those homes that are important to them. And realize is the bridge word. Or excuse me, results is the bridge word. It jumped on me. So talking to you today makes me realize that we need to meet for coffee and catch up. There's probably a lot of people in our world like that, right, Jean? So excellent. Again, if you did your homework, how important these language patterns are. So let's scooch through to the next part of our growth work. I had quite a few of you that submitted your homework in advance as I'm scrolling through these things. And that was future pacing. Remember? And future pacing is just preparing our listener. Remember, preparing our listener for what's about to happen, and then rehearsing with them or running them through a scenario about how they should respond when that does. And as you do that and use this language pattern, it solidifies the sale, the close, the whatever it is in the mind of the listener. And remember, here's the steps to future pacing. And again, those that submitted were really good at just following the steps. The first thing we did was we built on the relationship, acknowledging their commitment to you as their agent, right? Not a agent, as Steve said, their agent. The second thing is we're going to reinforce the reasons they would trust you, work with you, choosing to list your house, listing with you. The third is we're going to create that mental scenario, right? Paint a mental picture for them of an event that might happen on their experience. The fourth thing is we're going to dig just a little deeper to test the motivation, to make sure that they're clear and we know how to move forward. And then the fifth step is we're going to reiterate their pain and pleasure strategy, reinforcing what they're going to say and do. You know, what's not going to happen if mom and dad put the kibosh on the house? Or what will happen? Oh my gosh, they got to go out and look at 20 more houses and they're going to lose, 19 of them again. That type of thing, pain and pleasure. And then we're going to close if it's appropriate. So I did pull one of them. And again, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to have the recording of this. I did pull one of them from one that was submitted in advance that I think is a really good example. And as I read it to you, follow along the steps that are on the screen. And if you think it's wow, that was a really good example. Well, that's just one more reason to go back and maybe transcribe this portion of the call. So here we go. And I'm going to talk in versions of 1 and 2 are together, 3 and 4 are together, and 5 and 6 are together. Okay. So this is reinforcing a relationship of why they would work with you. And it could go something like this. Now that we've made a commitment to our partnership and getting your house sold, you'll remember often that it's the strategic approach I take in pricing and the strength of my team that caused you to trust me in netting the most money for the sale of your property, right? So that was number 1 and 2. Let me go into the second part. What you may notice as the days go by is that more homes may continue to come on the market. And these homes, they're going to become our competition. And it's critical that we're responding to the conditions of the market. I mean, you may have people in your life tell you, oh, you don't need to do anything. The right buyer is going to come along. And they may actually do their best to convince you that everything sells. It's just a matter of time. It's early yet in the spring market. Well, when this happens, what you'll automatically remember is that the longer your property sits on the market, the less money you're going to ultimately receive. And intuitively, you understand that that my ability to participate in the market and make strategic moves is what's going to create that win for you. Is there anything else you need to understand at this time? And now I'm testing motivation. And when they say, no, this makes a lot of sense. And remember, it's that yes set. You see them nodding your head. Then you go in with number 5 and 6 and you say, now, knowing that there are going to be more and more homes coming on the market now that cities enter different phases of the spring market, et cetera, means clearly you understand that it's more likely that a buyer's offer in a marketplace will start to come down. The more competition, the less offers we can get. You can see that, right? Well, because every day matters, we can address the strategic pricing in 2 ways. I can follow up with you daily so that you know what we're doing on the back end to get your property sold. And we can give you the current temperature of the market, hoping that we can connect so that we can agree on a strategy. Or we could just go ahead now and pre-sign some price improvements, knowing that we're not missing a minute of a marketing opportunity. Which works best for you? So while it seems long, that's a 90-second to 2-minute conversation that will solidify the relationship with your seller sitting at the other end of the table. And with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and I'll post it in our Facebook group so that you can all have that example. And thanks, Jim, for submitting that in advance. So it's obvious to me that you won't have a challenge remembering future pacing in the future because you're learning and practicing it now. So when an opportunity to future pace arises with a client, you'll future pace your ability to future pace into the future. Now I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but you get the point, right? It was fun to say. And when learning is fun, it comes easily and automatically. So are you ready to play the language of sales wrap-up game? If you are, say, I am in the box. I am. So Angela is. Everybody else, wake up. We're going to play. We're going to have fun. All right. So are you ready? You got your workbook in front of you, right? So get ready because the game's going to go fast. The game, this is going to be the quiet game for Coach Kara for the most part. You all are going to be doing the heavy lifting because you're going to be doing a lot of writing. So get your pen ready, get your workbook ready. And now here's the thing. It goes fast. You don't actually win. There's no prize. You don't beat anyone other than you're going to get to really focus in on what are the lessons you're taking from this course. And the more you play the language of sales, well, the greater the success you'll have. Don't you agree? We're going to reinforce what you learned. You're going to probably go, oh, I remember that now. I forgot it. Or oh man, I missed that part. And you're also going to get a feel for what you might want to focus on or brush up on. So here we go. Here's the rules. In the first part of the game, we're going to focus on the concepts we've learned over the last 8 weeks. Next to each word in your book, put the letter of the corresponding definition from below it. Okay, you're going to have 3 minutes, and those 3 minutes start now. Do, 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 do. Two minutes to go. Keep going. You've got 1 minute left. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down. I'm just kidding. You want to keep your pen because you're going to want to write as we go through this. All right, so let's go. Let's rock and roll through the answers. So the first one, B, internal representation. Remember, an internal representation helps us to understand how someone else is seeing the world, right? Their view of the world. And we win when we step into their view of the world. Remember in session 1, we talked about this, and we talked about envisioning a blue shirt. And we took you all the way down the path to a short sleeve light blue cotton polo shirt. So B, internal representation. D, kinesthetic learner, right? Someone who prefers physical or hands-on. They're the interactive learner. You give them something to do versus just watching it or saying it. They're probably loving the Language of Sales wrap-up game today because they get to do it. The next is A, auditory learner, someone who prefers hearing. They probably are really good with like books on tape and, audiobooks, conference calls, things like that. They can really focus when they can hear what's going on. The next one is J, matching, which is intentionally emulating a speaker's tonality, volume, and rate of speech. It's getting to that second hello. Remember, we said if someone calls and goes, hello, and you answer the phone, hello, and they're like, oh, wait, I know this person, even though they may have never met you. It's matching that tonality. And then on the flip side, mirroring. It's imitating the physical characteristics, right? It's doing things like sitting like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, right? Aren't you glad I didn't teach the whole class like that? So it's mirroring what they're doing in a subtle way. And then we had E, modal operators. It's an indication of how an individual is operating within the world specific to a certain context. I have to lead generate, right? I must do it now. I need to take this listing. I choose to go back and restudy the language of sales. The next one, H, NLP, which is short for neuro-linguistic programming, right? It's the study of what we think, say, and do. G, and that's the basis for language of sales. G, rapport is a close and harmonious relationship. It's being in sync with someone. When you're in rapport, you're in sync. You don't know why, but it feels good. Keyword backtracking, using their words. They say great, you say great. They say cool, you say cool. You put it in the conversation. F is a visual learner. And now here, as a bonus, and a visual learner likes to see things, obviously, there's the 4 presuppositions of language: respect for others' models of the world. Resistance in a client is a sign of lack of rapport. People are not their behaviors, and people are doing the best they can. When you hold on to those presuppositions, it keeps you in a place of neutral. So of the 10 that we just went over, how many did you get correct? Go ahead and put your score in the box. And while you're doing that, I want to introduce our next guest speaker, who's going to be, look at that, 8s and 10s across the board. Woo! Our next guest speaker, who is the fabulously talented Renee from Cyberbacker. And the reason we brought Renee on today is you guys have heard me say over and over and over, this isn't just about writing a bunch of sentences and turning in your sentences. This is about you utilizing these techniques and actually speaking them. And Renee is one of the principals at Cyberbacker that actually runs this really cool thing called Game Room. And Renee, we're getting kind of tight on time, but can you take 2 minutes and tell us all about Game Room, what it doesn't cost them, and where they can find you? Go ahead, Renee.
A very, very nice introduction, Kara. Thank you so much for that. So yes, it doesn't cost anything to be part of Game Room. Now, basically, here at Game Room, every single week we do a different concept, and it's all from the language of sales, and we practice it. And every single day we have a different objection. Now, Game Room started with a mission to basically help agents and team leaders and be the first step someone makes towards self-development. And our CEO, Craig, always reminds us of how amateurs practice until they get it right, but professionals practice until they never get it wrong. So Game Room has been able to be the first choice that someone makes to basically wake up and begin their day by jumping into Zoom, practicing with other Keller Williams agents and from different states, of course, and they all learn from each other and see different perspectives on how to handle objections. And of course, they're able to master the concepts from the language of sales, and that's the biggest part of Game Room. And of course, we have here a familiar face. I saw here Janet Johnson, which joins us every single day. And actually this week, just to share with you guys, we are handling single binds, which is the sooner you begin practicing the language of sales, the sooner you'll be able to master it. Don't you agree? And now we'll be posting the link to where you can join Game Room. It is for free, and you can check out our Facebook and Instagram as well. Thank you so much, Kara.
Oh, Renee, thank you. And again, we'll post all the information for Game Room. We will post it in the, hold on one second. There we go. Sorry, my screen went blank, so I wasn't sure if I lost my connection or not. So we're going to post all the information for Game Room. And again, what's amazing about Game Room is it's just taking the things that we're using and you're putting it into practice on a daily basis. And even some of the things that I know they work on, we didn't touch on everything here, but they're great concepts that you can continue to learn from the original language of sales class. So thanks so much, Renee. So let's look at the wrap-up game part 2. Now, the next part of the game, I'm going to give you several minutes to write short examples of the language patterns that we're talking about. Just write one example for each. If you want to write shorthand, you want to abbreviate, whatever, just go ahead. I'm going to give you, again, about another 3 or 4 minutes to go over the next concepts. So on your mark, get set, go. I'll let you know when you have 1 minute left. So we're about 2 minutes in. You've got another 2 minutes left. And do your best. Remember, this is your mental test of, ooh, do I remember what this is? Do I know how to use it? One minute left. All right. And we are down to our last couple seconds. Go ahead and finish up the whichever item you're working on. And let's wrap up game part 2, your review. And before I do though, I just want to ask, who went incredibly fast, hoping that they would win and look good? You don't have to put that in the box, but just consider that for a second. And understand that, again, this was about, can we recall what this is and can we use it when we need to? And if you were going a little slower and processing, that's fine too. As I said 20 minutes ago, there's no prizes. The only prize is you learning how to better communicate with your listener. So let's go through these one by one, acknowledging and validating. And again, all of this is just copied and pasted from previous sessions of your workbook. You know, it's something, it's when you need to diffuse a situation, right? When you need to diffuse a situation, it allows the listener to know that you heard them and that you understand them. It doesn't mean you're agreeing. That's so key. And if you haven't written that down previously, remember to write that down. So here's a great example. What I'm hearing you say is that you're frustrated with the potential listing price, and it's understandable with all the mechanical updates you've done to the property. So that's an example. So let's look at the next thing. We've got automatic presuppositions. Remember, an automatic presupposition presumes not only that something will happen automatically, it also presumes it's going to happen whether the listener wants it to or not. So again, here's a great example of that after we get done discussing the market. Now, some of you have reached out and said, Kara, we are going so fast today, I can't possibly write this all down. That's okay, because what are we doing with this session? We're recording it, and you'll have it to go back and listen to and pause and transcribe, etc. So after automatic presuppositions, we had, well, awareness presuppositions, which just means you're taking the focus off of the subject and redirecting it to something else, or to why something is a certain way. So again, we use a statement like, once you begin to notice the increasing number of homes on the market, everything, you'll decide to sell now. We had direct cause and effect. X causes Y. We just had this last week. X causes Y. X is the cause. Y is the effect. Just me calling you today makes you realize that we should set an appointment to get your home sold. Now, is any of that 100% true? No, but you're telling them that because you're calling them, they're realizing that we should set the appointment, and they're gonna follow your lead. The next thing, embedded commands. I mean, this is an old staple, right? And I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll go back and count how many embedded commands are just in this lesson alone, because there's a lot. And we know that an embedded command can be a standalone. It would be something you would yell like, list your house. It could be it's a standalone command that's embedded in a statement. So when would you like to meet to list your home? Does 4 o'clock work, or is 5 o'clock better? Level shifting or reframing. I like calling it reframing. In the NLP world, we call it reframing. It's because I think the visual is better for people to understand. It's shifting someone's focus or perspective. So what I'm hearing you say is you don't want to go out with your friends on Friday night, right? You're shifting it from go clean your room to, oh, you're not saying if you don't clean your room, you're not going out with your friends. You're skipping right to so you don't want to go out with your friends on Friday night then. And it gets someone to take action. We had powerful questions back in sessions 1 and 2. They give us insight because they actually give us insight as to how the person is thinking and gets them answering questions. And we can't help someone if we don't understand their perspective. So how does that fit into your plan? I'm going to ask you this. Use your box right now. What's the one word that never, ever, ever, ever starts a powerful question? You guys are so smart. That's exactly it. Why? And again, red circle, line through it. We never ask a question that starts with why. It's like a boop in the nose. It puts people on the defensive. So after powerful questions, we had quotes and extended quotes. Y'all know what a quote is. You know what an extended quote is. Temporal presuppositions. And by the way, quotes and extended quotes are when you don't want to be the deliverer of bad news. You heard someone else say it. You read an article, etc. Temporal presuppositions. Temporal relates to time. It's on a timeline. As we approach our meeting, as we get ready to, it always deals with time. Tie downs. Again, an old staple. Tie downs are just something that we use to get agreement. It's a small phrase to get agreement. Don't you agree? So before we get into, how many of these were you able to go, I could do that if I had more time? What percentage? 100%? Janet, no doubt, because I see you practicing this stuff all the time. Barbara, 50%, Scott, 50%, Carol, 80. Okay, good. So that's your score. You know where you're at. And I want to bring on one more guest speaker quickly before we wrap up. And I've got some important information for all of you. And you're going to want to stick around to the end to hear this. So the last guest speaker that is joining us today is the one and only Anna Kruger. Anna, why don't you hop on for us? And the reason Anna Kruger is here today is because she is one of the top, if not the top ISA in the company. And she is our amazing ISA coach. She has a fantastic program. Now you're probably thinking, I'm not an ISA. I don't have an ISA. I don't have an ISA on my horizon for a year or two. And you know what? The techniques that she works with all build on language of sales, and they help you in your lead generation. So Anna, can you give us the 2-minute brief on why working with you and maybe considering taking your program would be a great next logical step for the 400 people that registered for this course this round?
Yeah, awesome. Well, first of all, thank you all for having me here today and Kara inviting me. And I see a lot of familiar faces. So it's nice to see you, Megan. I saw you in class. I see a lot of familiar people here. But yeah, to Kara's point, honestly, we all do the activity of inside sales. When you consider that really inside sales is lead generation, lead conversion. I always say the difference is an agent does the activity of inside sales usually before lunch, and then they go out and work with clients, whereas inside sales agents work with them all day. So in the program, we actually have probably 50% agents, 50% ISAs, inside sales agents. I polled them once. And really the class is centered around language patterns. So I actually am enrolled in this class here, Kara. I think you're doing a great job, by the way. Yeah. I love this class. And I would say there is a lot that builds off of this program. In that inside sales, mastering inside sales program, we give you 19 language patterns. What's a language pattern? It's very similar to what Kara's been teaching you, yet we dive a bit deeper into what are the 4 steps to overcome an objection. What do you do if someone picks up the phone? And please put in the chat box if you've had this happen to you, but someone picks up the phone and they're like, oh, I'm busy. They're not busy. They picked up the phone. There's a language pattern on how you can address that in a very personable way and not be salesy about it. So we go over 19 language patterns, everything from hello all the way through to a signed listing or buyer agreement. And we've had people reporting, I just had an agent tell me that she has held, not set, she has held 10 additional appointments in a month because of the class of what she's implemented. So not set, but held. So essentially, if you talk to people and you want to turn them into clients, the class will help you. And then we also give you 4 tracking systems. A lot of people are like, I don't know where to track. Where do I track? We give you 4 tracking systems. Everything from your numbers to your contribution to the team, things like that. So I don't want to go on and on and on yet. If you have questions, Kara, you can throw them this way, but
absolutely.
That's the big picture gist is 19 language patterns, 4 trackers, My goal is when you're done, you know how to think and act like a business owner of lead generation, lead conversion, not just how to talk to leads, but you know what to analyze if you're not setting appointments, you know how to track, you understand the economic model of lead gen, all that stuff.
Love that. Anna, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
just like the other two guest speakers that we've had today, my amazing cyberbacker, Sheila, who, by the way, you guys, I'll give, Sheila a virtual high five because she's been running things behind the scenes, all these sessions. She's been amazing. She has posted the link for Anna's class and the information and when the next one starts and everything in the box. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put those in our Facebook group. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I can put you in touch with Anna. I can put you in touch with Steve or Tammy. I can put you in touch with Renee from Cyberbacker on Game Room. Now, here's the thing. We've got a couple minutes left, just a couple minutes. And what's abundantly clear for most of you is that you know that your MAPS language of sales journey doesn't end right here now today, right? It shouldn't stop here. Whether it's a continuation of one of the programs that I hand selected to have the speakers come on and to extend your journey, or whether it's retaking language of sales again, we'll most likely be offering it again in April, or our brand new NLP class that's going to be happening probably mid-year next year as well. Any questions you have about your journey, I'm going to open it up for the last couple minutes that we have. I've enjoyed seeing so many of you in our office hours. I've enjoyed the interaction in the Facebook page. And again, that page stays live. We don't take them down. I mean, some of you have registered because you took the class 3 or 4 years ago and we reached out through those pages and said, hey, we're offering it again. You know your journey. Earlier today, Steve Schlueter mentioned, let the cat out of the bag, that I was also a former BOLD coach. Some of you know that because I was your BOLD coach. Gary used to say about BOLD, the first time you take it, it's like you're in kindergarten. Then the second time, it's like you're in first grade. The third time, etc. Language is the same thing. I gave you the example of my granddaughter earlier today where we talked about her vocabulary now is not the same as it was a month ago, is not the same as it was 6 months ago. The only way to continue to use these influential skills is to continue to practice them. And I trust that you will continue your language of sales journey. Now, maybe you're also realizing it's not just about language of sales, that maybe it's time for a coach. I've got several of you who happen to be my MAPS clients on the line. I know many others who are MAPS clients already, whether it's the group coaching programs, whether it's Breakthrough, which is 2 calls a month, ramping you up to that one-on-one, once a week coaching, which is mastery, or our executive level coaching. If you have any questions on coaching and you're like, I don't know if it's the right time or not, reach out to me. We can have a conversation. We can do a needs analysis. We can decide, is this the right time for you to continue or maybe begin your MAPS coaching journey? Here's your growth work for the week, everyone. Retake the course utilizing the recordings. You have them. You've paid for them. Use them. Register for your next MAPS coaching journey, or reach out to decide, I don't know what's the next thing I should be doing, or I'm torn between this and this. What should I take? I'm a great resource. I'm happy to help guide you. And then continue to interact via our Facebook page. It has been my honor and privilege to work with each and every one of you at whatever level you showed up and committed to yourself throughout this course. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. If you're going to family reunion, stop by the booth. I will be there. Stop by, say hello, tell me what you learned. Post in the Facebook page, what were your biggest learns? How did this class help you not only get more business, become a better communicator? And because you're a better communicator, quite frankly, you're just a better person. It's been my honor and privilege. Have a great one, guys. We'll see you in the Facebook group. Bye, everyone. Right.